All right, so we're going to take a look at checkup number 2. If you have questions as you're going through this that can't be answered in class, I will be back partway through period 2. I'll also be here for flex and lunch and after school if you have questions. Like I said yesterday, it's really important that if you are struggling with anything, you get help early because everything's just kind of build. So the first question here, we're asked to write an expression equivalent to 4x plus 10 over 2x squared. When we're doing equivalents, we can write these multiple different ways. But in this case, we're told that we want a denominator of negative 4x squared. If you're just asked to make something equivalent, we can multiply all terms by the same number or divide. We can factor. But if we're told specifically that our denominator has to be negative 4x squared, then we have to look at what we're going to do to the 2x squared to get to a negative 4x squared. So when we're doing that, the first thing we're going to do is look at the 2. So 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. So that means I'm multiplying by a negative 2. And the x squared has stayed the same. So that means every single term has been multiplied by negative 2. So 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. So we've got negative 8x. And 10 times negative 2 is negative 20. So it's quite common. I believe you have a question like this at some point on a review or an exam. It's quite common for students just to read that first part and then forget the last part. If you're given a specific denominator, you need to set up your terms or multiply by the same number so that that denominator is what you're given. All right, moving on to number 2. The rational expression 6x squared plus 3x divided by 3x squared plus 9x can be simplified to 2x plus 1 over x plus 3. We're just being asked for the NPVs. Remember that our NPVs always come from before we simplify. So we're going to look at the denominator of the original expression. So 3x squared plus 9x. Remember, whenever we have two terms, there's only two options. We can pull out a common factor, or we can do difference of squares. So we're going to start with a common factor, pull out a 3, pull out an x, and that leaves me with x plus 3. This cannot equal to 0 because it's a non-permissible value. That's what would make the denominator equal to 0. So my NPVs are going to be 0 and negative 3. So the answer is B. All right, moving on to number 3. This is a common numerical response question. You're just going to be asked to simplify or make it equivalent, and then after that you're going to have to put specific pieces into specific boxes. So we're told that the expression ax squared minus 3 over bx plus c is an equivalent form of 2x squared minus 1 over 3x plus 1. We have to then figure out what the values of a, b, and c are. So we're going to look for a clue. The only number we have is negative 3, and here we have a negative 1. Well, negative 1 times 3 is negative 3. So 2 times 3 is 6, so this would be 6x squared minus 3. 3 times 3 is 9, so we're going to have 9x, and 1 times 3 is 3. And then we're asked for a, b, and c. So a is 6, b is 9, and c is 3. Now we're going to take a look at simplifying. So this is the part that you were introduced to yesterday. Again, if you're having trouble with any of this, I will be available at the school that you can come and ask for help. Same thing goes if you have any questions from the homework. So simplify the following rational expressions and state any NPVs. Remember that we're going to factor first. Always remember the F word, not that F word. Okay, factor first, then we do our NPVs, and then we hack and slash, or we simplify. Okay, get out your lightsabers. So we've got 4x squared minus 18x. The first thing I'm going to do is pull out a 2x, and that's going to leave me with that's going to leave me with 2x minus 9. And then down here, I'm going to pull out a 10, and that's going to leave me with 2x minus 9. It's at this point when we do our NPVs, 2x minus 9 cannot equal 0. Again, I don't expect you to show that algebra. We can go straight to x cannot be 9 over 2. Then we get on our lightsabers. 2 over 10 is 1 over 5. X stays there, and these cancel out as well. Pew, pew. All right, we're going to have x over 5. I see you guys giggling. All right, we got x cannot equal 9 over 2, and our expression is x over 5. Taking a look at the next one, we've got 3a cubed minus 3a squared. So I can pull out a 3, I can pull out an a squared. That's going to leave me with a minus 1. Remember, if there's 2 terms in the original, we need 2 terms in the leftovers. Whenever your first term is negative, always pull out that negative. So we're going to have negative 12, and that leaves me with a minus 1. If you had forgotten to pull that out, let's say that you had done 3a squared times a minus 1, and you had 12 and then negative a plus 1. Well, then that's the same as saying 1 minus a. So 3a squared, a minus 1, 12, and 1 minus a. Remember from yesterday, we can still cancel them, but we got to remember it's a negative 1. So pulling out that negative to start with often makes your job a little bit easier. You don't have to remember so many rules. We've got this fully factored. Our NPV, a cannot be 1. And then we're going to cancel. 3 over negative 12 is negative 4. So 1 over negative 4. A squared stays put, and these are gone. So we're left with a squared all over negative 4, and a cannot be 1. Sabin tried to simplify an expression as shown below. And so we've got this big mess here. And he's telling us step by step what he's done. So he said he first started by factoring the numerator and the denominator. When we're looking at these kinds of questions and we're trying to identify what somebody else has done wrong, we can often get tripped up because they don't do it the same way that we would want to do it. All you need to do is read the steps and check to see, does it match? Does it take me back to the previous step? If it does, then we're good. The other strategy that you can use is just do the question off to the side. You might not do it this way. You might instead say, well, wait a minute, I would have pulled out 6x, which would have left me with 2 minus x. And here I would have pulled out a 10x squared, and that would have left me with x minus 2. And then I would start canceling from there. And I'd have the 2 minus x over x minus 2 is negative 1. And 6 over 10 is just divided by 2 is 3. 3 over 5. And there's an x here that cancels, and we're left with an x on the bottom. So I would have negative 3 over 5x. So that might be what you do off to the side. And again, do your NPVs. X cannot be 0. X cannot be 2. And then sometimes it's easier to look at what the answer should be and then try to figure out where the mistakes are. So it looks like we're missing an x and we're missing a 2. So one way is to do it again on the side the way that you would do it. The other way is to follow the steps as they're given to you and see if they did anything wrong. So Sabin says he started by factoring the numerator and the denominator. Well, 3 times 2 is 6x. So 3 times 2 times 2 is 12, and we have 12x. And 3 times 2 is 6 times negative 1 is negative 6, so negative 6x squared. This one is correct. On the bottom, 5 times 2 is 10. X times x is x squared, times an x is x cubed. So that part's good. 5 times 2 times negative 2 is negative 20, and x times x is x squared. So this step is correct. We go down to the next one, and he says that x minus 2 and 2 minus x are opposites, and so when he divides them out, he gets a negative 1. That is correct. And 2x over 2x cancels, and we're left with a negative 3 over 5x. Well, it looks like he possibly just missed writing that, or maybe Mrs. Krause had a typo. I don't know, could be possible. But the x didn't make it. The other mistake that he made is that he forgot to do his NPVs before he canceled, which is an extremely common mistake. So x cannot be 0, x cannot be 2. And so I've already done the correction up here, so we'll leave part A. Now, why is Sabin's error one that's common? Because we often get so caught up just simplifying the question, and then we forget to do our NPV, so we do it at the end after we've simplified, and we miss the ones that have canceled out. All right, that's the checkup, guys. If you can check off your understanding, hand it into the front. I'll get them when I'm back at the school.